Episode 2, Slothboxx podcast. Myself, James Lupton, joined with Lyndon Dixon, my co-host. Lyndon, how's things?
All good, man. All good. Just excited for another decent weekend of boxing. Yourself?
Absolutely. Is that the same, mate? Is that the same? Nice to see a domestic British rivalry long in the making coming up to fruition this weekend. First of all, let's just recap very quickly on last weekend. A bit of a late recording of the pod this week. I'm going to let you take the reins on Danny Jacobs versus John Ryder.
Well, if I'm honest, I was expecting Jacobs to. I spoke to him in the fight week, and he just seemed a bit more confident in himself than Ryder did. But so I was expecting him to school him over the 12 rounds, and he did it for about 5 rounds. And then somehow Ryder just stepped it up from the 5th onwards. The last couple were close, but like I say, anyone that watched it knows it was a close fight. And I think Eddie Hearn put it perfectly. If it was in the States, Jacobs would have got it, but it was in the UK and Ryder nicked it. It was one of those fights, mate. It was too close to call. Both fighters thought they won. The crowd, and I think it is like the crowd that swayed it for the judges, because they're both landing a similar amount of punches, nothing too effective. Both got caught enough. But obviously, when Ryder threw his punches, the crowd's going crazy, and it's just the atmosphere, I think, could sway things. So if it was in America, those punches Jacob lands, the judges are going to pay attention to that as well. But yeah, it was a close one. And if I'm honest, I'm hearing conversations, is Ryder going to fight Canelo? And I'm over the moon for him. He's had a lot of fights where it's been close to call, and it just never seems to go his way. And karma seemed to be on his good side at the weekend.
You mentioned it there, obviously, first 5 rounds, Jacobs in control, then let his foot off the gas a little bit. Do you think it's more a case of Danny Jacobs got complacent and he threw the result away himself?
Definitely. I definitely think, because he switched stance. I can't remember if it was orthodox to southpaw or southpaw to orthodox, but those first 5 rounds he was in one stance. And then as soon as he changed, Ryder was all over him. Ryder was loving that. And for me, after 1 round, you think, oh shit, that didn't work. I better switch back to how I was doing things. But he didn't until about the 9th or 10th round. But that was enough for Ryder. He got himself into a groove. He went through the gears a bit. And yeah, I do think, as you say, Jacobs let it slip himself. I don't think it was Ryder putting on an outstanding performance. I think Jacobs let him in.
As you mentioned, there's talk now, obviously, John Ryder, Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, Canelo is the money in the sport. Nobody deserves it more than John Ryder. I've spoken to John a few times throughout the years, and he's a really, really top bloke. And by the sounds of it, it sounds like he is cashing out. He just wants that big payday, retire, spend time with his family. He said after the fight, you know, his missus has put up with a lot of stuff over the years, and it's almost time for her time as such of their relationship. And it sounds like he's looking for that payday to then retire and have a nice little retirement fund to go away with the family with, sort of thing.
Definitely, mate. I think he said in the press conference leading up to it, whoever loses is pretty much done in boxing. And I'm happy he didn't lose, mate, because I disagree with what he said. I think they both still have plenty left in the tank either way, win, lose or draw. But I think just confidence for him, you know, he's, like I said, he's been on the bad end of a lot of results when it's been close and could have gone either way. And maybe that just gives him sort of the kick up the arse, says, yeah, I am good enough. And there is a few more paydays, you could say, left in him yet. Like you say, set up the family nicely and just enjoy the rest of your life. It's a tough sport to be in, getting paid to get punched in the face, but in people in his position that he's now in, sometimes it works out nicely.
Definitely. 2 guys there I just mentioned towards the back end of their careers, somebody who's at the start of their career and who was in the co-main event that evening, Big Johnny Fisher, the Run Football. Bit of a tough night in the office for him.
Mate, I felt sorry for him. Like, he sold about 2,500, 3,000 tickets. He was the second. He was like I say, it was a co-main event. And he did look nervous. The ring walk looked nervous. Ring walk was a bit too long. He got in there, faffed about a bit. The announcing seemed to draw out. And little did he know it, the Spanish bloke that was opposite him, he was game. He weren't another bin man to be rolled over. He's a Spanish champion. And like I say, he was game, he come for it. And he didn't give Johnny Fisher an easy night. But it's tough because, yeah, Johnny Fisher didn't look great. but he still won every round. It was odd, mate. It was a brilliant fight for Fisher in terms of, if he was a nobody, if he didn't have those fans, and that was the first fight of the night, everyone would be over the moon for him. You know, he's stepped up his opposition. He's took on a better man statistically, and he's got him some good rounds under his belt. But like I said, the spotlight's on him, and he's very much learning on the job. He had 4 amateur fights, and that was his 5th pro fight. So and he hasn't exactly had loads of rounds either. Yeah, he's sparring good people, but it was tough for him. But it's an experience that he's just going to put in his locker, and it's going to do him good.
You mentioned it there perfectly. If it was at the start of the bill, everyone would be pleased and he's got the win. There'd be no sort of hoo-ha about it. But he's not being fast-tracked as such, but because he's a ticket seller, they've stuck him on a co-main event. What they want is they want the arena to be packed out still come main event. That's the reason why he's been put in a co-main event. Eddie's not silly. He's a businessman. There's a reason why he's, one of the, if not the top promoter in the world. Now, is that putting too much pressure on Johnny Fisher's shoulders?
It's a really difficult one because, like you say, if he was put on earlier in the card, half the arena would have been empty, mate. They would have, if you're tuning in just for the Ryder Jacobs fight, you on your phone, on your telly, you're thinking this didn't sell out too well. Half the arena's empty. So obviously, it's the thought of, right, like you said, we'll keep them as late as we can, and they'll stick around for the main event. But it's just pressure, mate. It's really difficult. I think what would do him good is fighting on some of his own Spanish shows where less of his fans will go to him. And it's sort of like similar to Campbell Hatton's situation. Yeah, Johnny Fisher doesn't have a popular surname or anything, but Hatton's very much learning on the job. And there's that expectation because of his reputation, his family reputation. Whereas Fisher, it's, well, we're selling all these tickets and all his fans are coming to see him. It's the co-main event. He should be doing well. But like I said, that was his 9th fight that he's had in his life, amateur and pro. And I think a few away days will do him good, take the pressure off. And he said he wants to fight 7 times this year, including that one. And I think come the end of the year, we'll see a different, sharper and more confident Johnny Fisher, hopefully anyway. Absolutely.
Let's move on to this coming weekend. Let's get straight into top of the bill. Amir Khan, Kell, Brook. It feels like it's been forever in the making. How do you see that one going first of all? Or break it down. How do you see the fact it's happened this time and this point in their careers after a few losses rather than, say, 5 to 10 years ago?
In the build-up, well, I watched the Gloves Are Off the other day with Johnny Nelson, and Khan said after this fight, he's not going to retire, whether he loses or not. Well, he didn't say he's going to lose, but he just said after this fight, I'm not going to retire. And that was a bit of a shock to hear because pretty much, good 90% of boxing fans that know their boxing see this as a payday for Khan, a bit more than Brook. And, final career, go out on a high if he wins and sail off into the sunset and maybe go on a celeb again. I don't know. But it's a difficult one because they've both been up for it for about 15 years. And for some reason, one way or the other, the fight hasn't been made, even when they've had the same promoter at some point, it just hasn't been made. But I'm happy for Brook more than anything because Khan is the A side. That's why his name's first. And Brook's sort of been chasing him his whole career, but just to prove a point. And I'm happy for him that he's finally going to be able to prove a point, whether he wins or not. But I think it's going to be tough. There's the questions there. Has Khan got the legs? Has Khan got the chin? Has Brook got the chin? They're both similar physically. Yeah, Khan's got the speed over Brook, but Brook's got that beautiful timing that we've seen throughout his career. And mate, I'm just looking forward to it Saturday night. Finally, it's going to happen. Whether Brook comes in overweight or not, we'll see. But I just can't wait for it, mate. What about you? How do you see it going?
I mentioned towards Amir Khan. You mentioned the speed. I think a bit of an unpopular opinion. I think Amir Khan won't be appreciated until he's retired. I think he will go down as one of the best British boxers ever. And I mean, in terms of him continuing after this fight, I'd rather they both retire after this one, to be honest with you. I don't think there's anything more really left for them both apart from being a gatekeeper for the prospects, stick them in with the, the likes of the Conor Benns and, the domestic prospects that are coming through the ranks. Because neither man is going to win a world title again. Are they even going to go down to, you don't really see fighters who have been at the world level for a long time towards the end of their career come back down the route again and go back for the European and back down for the British title, for example. You don't see nobody sort of backtrack and go that way again, whereas they probably could do. Chuck Amir Khan or Kell in now for the British title. Are they going to win it? They're going to be a favourite probably against, the British level welterweight. So I can't see them doing that. They'll want to be at, around world title level, which they're not at. Simple as that. But I edge towards Khan. Nothing against Kell, like Kell. Both of them have only been stopped at top level. If you look at Kell, Golovkin, a monster, but also too far above him in the weight division. Errol Spence, again, world-class fighter, and Terence Crawford, one of, if not the best in the world at the time he fought him. So he's only been stopped to the top level. But again, you say the same about Khan. Khan's been around the block for a long time. He was at world level for a lot longer than Kell was. He's got a lot more experience. And I do think as well, speaking to Craig Richards about this, Kell training in America, the whole training style is so different out there. Whereas with similar Kell, he's sort of flipped between the Ingle gym and then gone off with other trainers and not really worked out and gone back to the Ingle gym. And I don't know if he sort of, either man really, I don't think either man have sort of settled with a coach really. And I think that will be a telling factor going into this fight. How much do either man want it? I think the fact that the grudge match has been there for a long, long time, they both want this fight. But again, going back to the whole continuing after this fight, I would hope they would have looked at this as another little retirement fund.
But I think I'm completely on the same page as you, mate. I think whoever wins, both of them should retire, have a nice handshake at the end, little cuddle, and go home to their families. But money talks, mate. I was speaking to Eddie Hearn at the Ryder Jacobs conference the other day, and I said, because Ben's in talks with either Marisa or Van Heerden, and I said, who's next? Could you have the winner of Khan Brook? And he was up for it. Eddie Hearn thinks, I think Eddie would love to make that for Ben next, because it's, in terms of Ben's career trajectory, that's sort of the next step as well. If he beats Hooker or Van Heerden, like you say, they're sort of the gatekeepers there. But who's going to win on the night? I don't know. I've been through the whole build-up. I've been thinking Brook comfortably. Honestly, I don't know why. I've just had that feeling for him. But today, watching the workouts in Manchester, Khan just looks sharp. He looks about like he did about 8 years ago when I was watching him when I was a little kid. He literally looks the same bloke. If anyone get out there and watch that, it's scary to see how different he looks compared to how he did in his last fight about 2 years ago. But I think I'm going to stick with Brook, and I think it's going to be a late knockout. What about yourself? How do you see the fight going? Predict it.
I think Khan, almost similar to the Jacobs ride, I think Khan runs away with it early, picks up the points on the scorecards first. But I think Brook will be his most dangerous early. We saw with Samuel Vargas against Khan, come out like a bull in a china shop, drop Khan early. I think that's got to be Kell Brook's tactic. He has to come out there, he has to rush him, he has to pounce on him from the very first bell. If he does that, he might well drop Khan early. And then I think that's just going to trigger something that Khan's then got to get the rounds in. I'm going Khan, split decision. I think it goes a distance. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Khan on the deck and come back up to win.
I think Khan will be on the deck, but I think he's going to stay down there. I think Brook, I think his timing's going to work in the later rounds. I think it's going to be a bit cautious from both of them for the first few rounds because, like you said, the reputation so much has rided on it. But I think, like I said, I think Brook's timing's just going to edge it for this one. Whether Khan's got a speed or not, he's still got that glass jaw that he's renowned for. Well, Brook's got it as well, but I think Brook's just got that bit more power.
We've spoken about whoever wins to go on potentially to fight Conor Benn. Let's say they both continue to fight. The loser, who would you like to see them in with?
The loser, ooh. I think on the other side, away from the zone on Queensbury Promotions and BT Sport, I think the loser for that will be a great fight for Avanesian. I think he's been announced against the nobody literally just this week, and for people saying he should fight Conor Benn, well, Avanesian hasn't exactly added another great name to his resume if he wins. So I think Khan or Brook, I think that would be a great fight for him. And maybe we could be looking at Avanesian wins that. That's going to boost his reputation, and it's going to look more appealing to Ben and his team if that fight was to be made, because it's constantly talk about Ben and Avanesian. Whenever who's Ben's next opponent, Avanesian's always there. Should it be him? And I think if Ben was to fight the winner and Avanesian was to fight the loser, I think that would set things up nicely for the end of the year for Avanesian Ben. But we'll see, mate. The boxing world's a crazy world.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd like to see, obviously, with Sky Sports and Boxer, they've got Chris Congo. You know, he's been announced today he's fighting, I think it's March or April, on the Richard Riakporhe undercard. But also, I'd like to see Josh Kelly come back in. He needs to come back. If he stays at, the weight, then the loser of Khan Brook, again, is a big scalp. But I think Avanesian's a great shout. I like that. Like you say, it's a name on his CV. It's somebody who, to be fair, will be the best he's been in with, and it will show us where Avanesian is. Let's know one last thing before I move off of the main event, before I go into the undercard. Dominic Ingle and Kell Brook's sweat.
Mate, I was going to bring it up. I cannot believe that video. And he firms it as well. It's not like he drinks it. And it's not like oh, that was horrible. He firms it. I cannot believe it, mate. Describe the video for anyone that hasn't seen it.
I mean, can you really? I mean, is there any way of describing it? Just go on to Sky Sports Boxing Twitter, look for it. I mean, Dominic, if you want to see Dominic Ingle down Kell Brook's sweat out of a jar, then you're in luck. Because it's now. I
never thought I'd hear you say that sentence, mate.
It's listen, the internet is a wild place, and that can now be seen out there. Right, let's move swiftly on from that.
Thank you.
The undercards, Boxer and their strategy with their camp seems to be prospects, and I like that. They seem to be building for the future. You've got guys, this weekend like Brad Ray, undefeated, looks very, very good. Vidal Riley, obviously, a massive following on YouTube. But let's not forget, before YouTube, he was a boxer. He was amateur captain for England. Boxed for West Ham, boxed for Repton. He been signed to Floyd Mayweather Promotions. This guy is not somebody who's come in and gone, I dabble in the sport. He's, born and raised in the ring. You've also got the Azim brothers. You've got, not on this card in particular, but you've got Caron Dubois. With their strategy and looking like they are building for the future, how do you see that? Do you see them sort of, if they keep this talent, will they become the front runners in terms of stable-wise?
I'm going to have to agree. I think the way things are looking in terms of signings, I can't name them off the top of my head, but you look at Matchroom and the Sky Sports, compare the last 5 signings. I think, like you say, if Sky keep hold of that talent, mate, in 5 or 6 years, most of those fighters you just named are going to be world champions in their respective weights and divisions. I think it's scary because Hines seem to always have the best pick of everyone, whether it's people just coming out of the Olympics or people just leaving their old promoters. He seems to get the pick. But I think in the coming years, when those prospects that you just named, your Dubois, your Azims, I think when they start to pick up, they're past their British, some of them go European world champion, Sky are going to be looking better, mate, stable-wise.
Absolutely. And we've mentioned already a heavyweight coming through in Johnny Fisher. You've mentioned, obviously, the Olympians coming through. Fraser Clark, highly anticipated professional debut coming up. Okay, his age isn't necessarily on his side. However, I imagine he'll be fast tracked. He's got the Olympic experience. He wanted that Olympic experience. He waited a long, long time in Team GB to experience that. And fair play to him. That was one of his goals. He stuck to that. But he gets his professional bow this weekend. Just how far can he go?
I think you're going to see a near identical career to that of Joe Joyce. I think they both come from similar backgrounds, similar ages. And like you said about being fast-tracked, I think Sky love a good domestic fight, so I think you'll see him go down the British title route. I don't know who that's going to be against, but I think by his 5th or 6th fight, he'll have a British title, and he's got bags of talent. I didn't see him in the Olympics, but from what I have seen of him, clips on YouTube, clips on his Instagram, who he sparred alone, like this fella. I think he's 31, 32. He's got a big career ahead of him, but like you say, he's going to be fast-tracked, and it's going to be fun to see how far he can go in such a short space of time. I mean, where's he going to be in 2 years? On the edge of a world title? Just picked up the British? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, and I'm happy to be able to watch his journey.
Absolutely. Again, sticking with the Sky Sports and the Boxer and their new signings, Aaron Chalmers obviously dabbled a bit in the octagon, bit of MMA, and to be fair to him, done well there. He went in with a reputation as a reality TV star. He's from Geordie Shore. He's not going to make it. And to be fair to him, he made a few waves in the MMA world. He wants to go into boxing, and I know he has been training with Adam Booth for a long, long time. He didn't jump straight in. He has taken the time to learn the craft and learn the discipline. Is this anything more than a business move on part of Sky Sports? Do you really see a long future and longevity for Aaron Chalmers in the sport?
I think there's a real mixture of it. I think, like you said, the way it's not like he's just come from Geordie Shore and now he's going into boxing. He's got that history of combat sports, and like I said, he did well. He did do pretty well. I didn't know that he was with Adam Booth for so long, but I think it's like, obviously he's going to bring his own audience, an audience that's your average Sky fight night might not usually have, and I think that's a plus for both sides. But the boy can fight, and I think it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. Like, who's he going to be picked to fight against? What weight is he? What weight's he going? It's really interesting. But he's a personality. He takes fighting seriously, as he's shown with the MMA, and I ain't got a grudge against it. He's not exactly, like I said, he's serious about things, and if he's serious about it and he's going to dedicate himself to it, no, you can't put him down. I think he's going to do well, especially under Adam Booth, because he's picky with who he trains. So he must have liked what he's seen. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does and where he goes, to be fair.
Absolutely. And like I say, he's not just decided to dip his toes in. It's not, for example, like Logan Paul or KSI. He's not gone, you know what, I'm just going to do this for a few quid. I think he genuinely wants it. I mean, I don't see a long career for him in the sport. I don't think it'll be about for a long, long time. And because of his name and his reputation with the reality TV, that is ultimately why he has been picked up by a big platform. Let's be real. But again, I think it's a smart strategy on behalf of Sky Sports and Boxer. Much like Vidal Riley. Now, Vidal's a very, very good fighter early in his career, but he's got over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Aaron Chalmers is going to bring in his massive social media presence. And if he's promoting Sky Sports and Boxer, it's only going to be good for them. And well, because of his name and because of reputation, he's also going to be a ticket seller.
I think, like I say, you touched on it now, I think it's good for both of them. And I didn't expect it when I woke up. I think it was this morning or yesterday morning. I wasn't expecting to see him on Michael Benson's Twitter that he's signed on. But like I said, I'm happy for him. You said it perfectly. He's not just dipping his toes in. He's going for a proper swim. He's dedicating himself properly to the sport. And you can't. Who can have a problem with that? It's not I can make a few million off of this if I fight someone else from a reality TV show. It's going to be fighting proper pros. And like I said, I can't wait to see where it goes, mate.
Absolutely. Finally, I want to move on. We normally do a little tip of the week. I think we've both already sort of mentioned our little picks this weekend. I'm going Khan points, you're going Brook'S stoppage. Obviously, last week I picked Jacobs Ryder to go distance. Mine's coming, you picked Johnny Fisher stoppage, along with the rest of the country.
Yeah.
And I think that was the ACCA buster for everybody.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. I couldn't, like, it was, the rounds were going on and on. I'm like, it's this round, it's this round. And then it's the 6th round, and I'm sat there. I watched it with my girlfriend. I was to scratch my head, and she was like, "You didn't put money on a stoppage, did you?" And I was like, "Yeah, definitely not, babe, definitely not." But yeah, I think I'll back myself this weekend. I'm putting my money on it. Brook'S stoppage, mate.
I mean, you go Brook, I'm going Khan. One of us has got to be right.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
Unless it's a draw. So,
I hope it's not. I don't want to see a trilogy.
everyone back a draw. We've picked different winners. It's going to be Lyndon, pleasure as always. We'll reconvene again after Khan Brook for episode 3 next week.
Yep, looking forward to it, mate. See you all then.